Okay, let's make some materials. Let's open up the Hypershade under the rendering editors. And let's make some Arnold materials. So let's select the Arnold section and then go down to Shader. And we want Arnold standard surface. So let's make one for the ball, one for the box, one for the walls, and one for the floor. So I hit that 4 times and now I've got 4 shaders up there. So I'm going to select the first AI standard. I'm going to hit the up and downstream connections to graph it, which is this little button right here. I'm going to put my cursor on that, give you a chance to find it. It's right there. And rename this to, I like to leave the prefix of AI so that I know that it's an Arnold shader in case I am working with multiple render engines, which does happen. Sometimes you need to use a different render engine to get the effect you need. So to keep my material straight, I'll leave the AI there. We'll call it AI ball. And color. So we can give it a flat color. Alright, so if we wanted to just like, oh, it's a blue rubber ball, we could certainly do that. Let's go ahead and let's assign the shader. Right click on the shader right there and just assign material to viewport selection. And it updates right away in my Arnold render view here. So you got to think about, well, what is this communicating about the kind of surface here? Does this look like the kind of ball I want to bounce? Well, yeah, we could do that. We could do a ball and just try to say it's like some kind of shiny rubber or shiny plastic. And if you want to try and animate a plastic bouncing ball, you can. I think I want to try for a beach ball. So I'm actually going to use a texture instead of just a straight color. So I'm going to hit this little checkerboard here, and it's going to bring up some options for me. So I'm going to choose ramp, and I'm going to change the interpolation of this ramp from linear to none. So these all come through as straight colors. And as you can see, I can move this band of white up and down the ball. But I want this to be a beach ball, and the stripes are going kind of the wrong direction for the classic beach ball, which is, you know, these stripes of different colors going around the ball from pole to pole. So I'm going to change it from a V ramp to a U ramp. And now you can see our band of white is on the other side of the ball. If I add another one, it'll be a little clearer what's going on here. Alright, so we don't want black. We don't want to do black and white because that's not very colorful here. So let's do a blue stripe. Come here. Let's put a 1 in. Let's do a red stripe. The value of 1 in red. And let's do a green stripe. And let's do a yellow stripe. Okay, let's get rid of this white band too. So now I'll just try to space these out so that they kind of evenly spaced. Alright, so that's basically this texture repeats around once. So you see there's one band of stripes, and that's okay, but that's not really what I want. It doesn't seem very appealing to me, and I never get to see that yellow from this angle right over here, unless I do all sorts of crazy rotation when I'm bouncing the ball. So I'm going to make this tile. So let's make the UVs repeat here. Let's do 3 repetitions. Alright, that's better. So now I can see the yellow. I get to see all the colors here. But at the top here, they all meet together, and most beach balls, they actually have a separate patch there with a different color at the top and the bottom. So let's get that too. Let's layer that in there. So we will make another ramp, and if you're in the workspace here, this little workspace, and you press tab, you get a prompt. And this is a little workflow tip. So instead of going over here and looking for my ramp, right? So there's a couple ways I can look for it. I can try to remember, well, what is a ramp? Well, it's a 2D texture. Is it 2D or 3D? It's a 2D texture. And then I just kind of go through here and I look, right? Sometimes there's a value to browsing, but if you know exactly what you want, using this interface is actually kind of slow. I can use this right here. I can just type ramp, and it will show me with the ramp. Same for anything else. So if I want the sampler node, oh, let's see, it doesn't have that anymore apparently. There's substance. There's AI. Oh, that's because I've got the. So that apparently, I guess that search doesn't search everything. It only searches the categories that you have selected. So that's even less useful. Whereas opposed to if I'm in the workspace and I press tab to open the prompt, and I know what I'm looking for. So like if there's I want a surface sampler or surface info, there's that. If I want the particle sampler, there's that. So if you know what it is that you're looking for, you can press tab and type it and actually get it. So we're looking for the ramp. Go ahead and just type ramp, and I've got a couple of ramps in there. I want the ramp texture, right? So all these other ramps here, these are ramps. It's the same texture, but these are different methods of applying the texture. So there's projection, stencil, and texture. And there's also a ramp shader. We don't want the ramp shader. But we're going to just do the ramp texture, which is identical to what we have up here. Once again, we're going to change the blending to none and pull that out. Move that over there. Make those look kind of equal. I mean, you could just, you could subtract. You could take this position, take 0.95, subtract it from 1, and then you wind up with the balance, which you could then put this at the right position, but I'm not going to bother with that. There are ways of finding mathematically perfect ways to balance these, but we're not going to do that. You could even write in an expression so that this guy's selected position will always be 1 minus 9.50, and then that would drive that. Maybe later in a class, if you guys are interested in some of those workflows of automating things so that you have tweaks that always want to maintain a proportion together, we can start looking at stuff like that. So I've got this ramp, and now I want to add, because I want a little white cap at the top and a white cap at the bottom. So we're going to layer these textures together. So I won't use the command prompt there, so I'll show you where this is at. So I believe it's under 2D textures. And where is this guy? I don't remember exactly where this at. It might be a utility. It's not a blend, it's a layer. Nope, I don't see it. So tell you what, I'm going to just type layer, and I get layered texture. That's what I want right there. So this is like Photoshop, guys, except it's in a node. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this ramp and put it in here. So there's two ways of doing this. We can connect it through these inputs right here, right? I can open this up and then move this out color input to color, and we've got that. That's one way of doing it. Or I can middle mouse drag on this node here and drag it into here, and that will hook it up as another input. So as it is right now, I've got this beach ball base over the circles at the top. I want to switch that around. So what I do is I middle mouse drag this ramp 2 and put it over 1, and the blend mode is currently over. I'm going to change that to add, and now I've got I got to hook the out color here. Got to move this out color to the base color now, and now you can see it. I've got a little white ball there. It's a little transparent. It's probably because it's blending some still. So if I move this guy back out a bit, this out some more, that's still showing through. Alright, let's see, is there any alpha coming through there? Nope. There's not. If I put that alpha there, is that calculating an alpha for it? Doesn't look like it, so let's do a quick luminance to generate an alpha. Go out there. That one didn't work. Alpha is a luminance. Nope. Is that a pure white? That is a pure white. So the reason that this should be working is basically the color values are from 0 to 1. They're not from 0 to 255 anymore. Unless, well, even if they were, they should be going over. So black being 0, right? So if you just think about it mathematically, if you add 0 to any value, you get 0. So if I add 0 to the values up here, I should be getting these values. But if I add 1 to these values, they should clamp. They should go right to 1, and they should be white. But it's overlaying it. Right, I am going to pause it, figure out what's going on here, and then get back to you. Okay, so the fix for getting the caps to show up on the ball properly was actually pretty simple, as they usually are, just overlooking one thing. So I'm going to go ahead and arrange this so it looks a little better. So we are layering the caps over the stripes. So I'm going to put the stripes on the bottom and the caps on the top. So you see here we have the out color of the caps going into input 6. We want to expand that. There's an alpha section. Alright, so we're going to put the out alpha into the alpha of the layer texture. We also need to change this from right now, this is on add. You can see the stripes are coming through there. Put it to over, and now you can't see the stripes, but you see the caps cleanly. But we move the alpha from the cap into the layer texture. It's now going over perfectly. Minimize that, and you can see it on the ball. Let's go ahead and rotate the ball so it looks a little more appealing there. Alright, now let's get some materials rolling for the floor, the walls, and the box. So grab one of these AI standards that we made earlier, graph up and down. We'll change the name to AI floor. Thanks for taking that. Alright, so let's make it a kind of cool gray. And you see how shiny that is? Switch to Arnold preview here. You see how you can see all these reflections? You can see everything reflecting in it. That's a little too shiny for what I want. I want it to be a lot rougher, a lot blurrier. So we're going to go into the specular here and change this roughness from 0.1. That's 0.4. It's still kind of smooth there. I want to see some light, but not too much. That looks good. We'll leave it at 0.6. Alright, and to assign it, we got a couple of options here. I can click this here with the middle mouse button and drag it onto the floor. That works. I can select it, right-click the material, select the object, right-click the material, and then assign material view selection to viewport. We'll use that next one for the walls. Select another material, graph up and downstream, and call this walls. And let's make the walls a beige. I don't want the walls to be attracting a lot of attention. And once again, we need to really make the walls quite a bit rougher. Make it even rougher than the floor. Actually, it does make sense to make the floor to be rougher than the walls, so let's go ahead and select the floor here real quick and pump its roughness up a little bit higher. The floor sees a lot more action, so it doesn't make sense for it to actually be smoother than the walls. Alright, so we got that material, so I'm going to select the two walls and then right click on the walls material and assign to viewport selection. And that leaves the box. So select the last material, graph its up and downstream connections, and rename it to box. And let's see here, maybe a light blue Well, I already got kind of a blue for the floor. Let's see how a light blue looks though. We'll do a couple of renders to just kind of get an idea for what we're looking at. Once again, increase the roughness. Alright, that's good enough for a first pass. Alright, let's take a look and see what a render looks like. Oh wow, you see how close that ball is to the floor? It doesn't really stand out, and it's actually the walls looking kind of boring, so let's tackle the ball first since we got that selected. The yellow's kind of interesting. Go into a red, increase saturation. It's looking a little better. Right, I'm going to increase the saturation on the walls and the floor as well, because right now they're looking so bland. So I selected the floor texture, click on the color, and I pull the saturation up. Get a little bit stronger of a color, but it looks like it's flattening out a little there. We might try to fix some of this with the lighting. And we'll make another pass at the lighting when we get some animation rolling here. Okay, let's get some work on the walls in. Same deal. All right, let's pull back the saturation. Pull it back up. A little more color in. All right, that looks better than what we had before. Still not fantastic, but it's better. We might take another pass at some more procedural textures for the walls and the floor here if we have time and if you guys are interested. But that is it for setting the stage up there. That's a much better environment to be animating in, don't you think? Let's make sure we got lighting. Let's turn shadows on so we can see shadows in our viewport. Got some weirdness going on over here. I'm not going to worry about that too much though. A little worried that this is a little bit small to do some bouncing on, so I'm going to increase the scale of things again. Does that not have an input anymore? Wow, those guys don't have polyplane inputs. Alright. Just have to scale them. Prefer not to do that, but they're not going to be changing. I'm not going to do anything fancy on the transforms. They're just going to be stationary. Alright. So let's take a quick render. Yep. That looks a lot more appealing than all gray shaders with no lighting going on. It'll be a lot more fun to work in. Alright. Let's get on to animation now.